Hi, this is Dr. Eric Fields, an addiction psychologist specializing in gambling addiction. Today, I want to talk about a very particular strategy that will really help you gain control over your compulsive gambling behavior. Now, this strategy will take time to effectively give you that kind of control that you've been looking for. So, in other words, you'll be slowly taking back control week by week, month by month. So, if you're looking for a quick fix, this isn't a quick fix, but I will say this: it may take a little time, but you stand a far greater chance of eliminating this behavior once and for all. Now, years ago in the addiction field, the assumption was that somebody had to overcome their addiction before they could address any other area in their life. So, in other words, if you were struggling with relationship issues, job or career issues, mental health issues, depression, anxiety, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you would not be able to effectively really make progress in those areas until the addiction issue is resolved. And that, my friends, I can tell you is completely false. You can and should try to make progress in other areas of your life. You should try to fix the other areas of your life even while you're struggling with this gambling addiction. In fact, by doing so can be a very, very powerful strategy. And you're going to have to do it anyway. So that's the good news. You don't have to wait to address these other areas of your life. And I call this the leverage strategy. That's basically the term I came up uh, the term I came up with that really I think exemplifies this particular technique. And why I named it the leverage technique is because it's a way to gain leverage over your addiction. Another way of saying it is this strategy is a way of crowding out your addiction. So, listen, if you look at a typical day for you in terms of how you devote your time, right? You devote time to your work, you devote time to your friends, maybe your family, maybe a significant romantic relationship. You devote your time to other kinds of hobbies and interests, maybe. You devote your time to more leisure, recreational kinds of activities. You devote your time to household responsibilities and other personal responsibilities, right? So if we use like a pie chart to represent our day, there would be many different slices for different things, right? The gambling addiction, if it is an addiction, takes up a sizable chunk of that pie. Not only because of all the time you spend gambling in the actual activity, but all the time that you spend researching for your gambling hobby, all the time you spend obsessing about gambling, all the time you spend brooding about your losses and how bad this is and dealing with, you know, these emotional consequences like depression and anxiety, it consumes a big chunk of your day. So, to crowd it out and gain leverage over it, what I'm proposing is you set a goal for something that is important to you, or something that you definitely see value in doing. And we're not talking about such a long-term goal. I mean, listen, if you could find a passion and embrace it and put as much energy as you can into that, that would be great. But that's going to be difficult for a lot of you to do because you're so mentally consumed by this activity. It's too hard for many people to kind of project into the future and think of that, right? Think about what they're really passionate about. So what I'm proposing is think of more like a medium range goal, not a short-term goal in the sense that you can accomplish it today. No, that's not going to work. And not even in the sense that you can accomplish it in a week. Think of a medium range goal which falls in the neighborhood of maybe several months. Okay? What is something you can accomplish in several months that's important to you? Okay? It could be losing weight or just getting into a healthy exercise routine. It could be learning a new skill, maybe taking a class, maybe taking a course. It could be developing a talent or a skill, learning a foreign language, learning a musical instrument, or at least starting that process, right? Getting a new certificate that is important for your job, your career, that may take several months to obtain. It could be cleaning out your house, if that is motivating enough for you. It could be a goal of doing something with your kids, maybe signing them up for an activity that you're going to participate in for several months' time. Okay? But it's got to be something meaningful and it has to have value to you. It doesn't have to be the end all be all. It doesn't have to be like something you're super passionate about. It's like one of those things that you've been putting off for a while that you really know that you want to do or that you should do. So think of it in those terms. Lately there's a lot of different things going on in the world with technology and what have you, and sometimes people want to learn more about that. Whatever it is, it should be, at least several months' time, okay? Or I would say definitely at least 2 months, okay? And so spell it out in terms of what you want to accomplish. And it should be like a very well defined goal. Like at the end of this period of time, I want to have done this, accomplished this, gotten this certificate, gotten through this class, learned this skill, did this, right? Got the whole basement cleaned and remodeled, whatever, right? And then what you're going to do is you're going to develop a weekly plan, right? So that week by week, you're going to spell out each day the amount of time you're going to devote to this activity. And what I think is even more powerful is to kind of have these short-term goals that are going to get you to that medium range goal so that each week you can say, I would have liked to have done this or accomplished this by the end of this week. And if you're taking like a class or something like that, well, that's really simple, right? It's like by the end of this week, I want to make sure I have attended all these classes. Okay? Now, this is something that you should be able to do ideally each day, especially for those of you who have a really bad gambling addiction and are compulsively gambling every single day. We want this new activity to crowd out or push out the gambling behavior so that you don't have as much time to gamble. Okay? So if you're spending a couple hours a day taking a class, learning a skill, cleaning out your basement, spending time with your kids and participating in an activity with them, you will then have less activity to gamble. And also, try to think of an activity where it would be really hard to gamble while doing it because that's going to defeat its purpose, right? And that's where the value proposition comes in. If this thing is not something like you really think is important to do, it doesn't have to be something that you are so passionate about doing and are like so excited to do, but it's got to be something that you can say, this is important, and if I commit to it, I'm going to commit to it 100%. And I'm certainly not going to let gambling interfere while I'm doing this activity. Outside of this activity, tell yourself you can gamble and do whatever you want, but this is something you got to commit to. As you're going through week by week doing this new activity and spending a good amount of time each day on it, I want you to kind of check in with yourself from time to time and see how it's going. Are you able to stick with it? Is it consistent? Are you skipping classes? Are you skipping days? Are you not attending to the task as much as you should be? If so, then that's a problem, and we got to kind of go back to the drawing board and pick something else. All right. But if you are able to stick with this consistently, and it is taking up a couple hours a day, and you're noticing that it really is having a positive impact on your gambling behavior because your gambling behavior is going down, then what I would say is maybe after like 3 to 4 weeks of consistently doing this, you might want to then think about adding another medium range goal. But only do that if you're consistently able to succeed at this first one and devote the required time to it that you should be. And so you can layer it. You don't have to wait till you've accomplished this goal. Ideally, you want to start another one and kind of stagger it. Maybe, like I said, 3 to 4 weeks after you started addressing the first goal. And so after several weeks to a month of doing this additional positive behavior, then you might even think about adding something else into the mix. So it would look something like this. I want to lose weight. I want to start exercising every day. I'm going to go and work out for an hour every day after my job. Boom, we start that. We're consistent. Day 1, day 2, day 3. 3 to 4 weeks later, we haven't missed any workouts. We're sticking with it. Everything's going really well. You also, I should add, have the choice of adding more time to that activity. Like, let's say you're like, hey, I'm loving the benefits that I'm getting from exercising every day. I really am enjoying it and feeling super productive. And by the time my workout is over, I'm almost feeling like I'm dreading going home because I got to battle with the gambling urges and everything else. If you want, you certainly have the option of adding like a half an hour or so to the exercise routine and doing something of that nature. But I would kind of throw out this caution, make sure that that's something you really want to do, because the thing that you don't want to happen is, okay, I add this extra half an hour, and then eventually, that kind of like kills my motivation, and I'm like, nah, I can't keep it up, and that's it, you're done with it. You don't want that to happen, okay? So you got the exercise routine in place, maybe you extended it a little bit, and now you're like, you know what? There's that online class that I want to take, that I've been meaning to take to learn whatever, and now you're going to start that. And then several weeks go on, right? And all of a sudden, you're like, hey, you know what? I used to love painting. I don't know why I got away from that. That used to be such a fun thing for me to do. And so then you start looking in your community for painting classes. And maybe now you add that to the mix. for like 3 days a week. Okay. And what you're doing is you're slowly pushing out this gambling because there's just not enough time in the day to do it. And you're feeling better and better and better because you are accomplishing goals. You are increasing your productivity. Your personal progress is now something to really be proud of. And that's making you feel good and it's making you feel confident. Like, wow, I can take control of my life. And that's going to empower you, which is going to make it easier to resist those gambling urges. If you're doing an hour to an hour and a half of exercise and then taking an online class every day for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then several nights a week you're going to a painting class, or let's say the painting class is only on the weekends, but it's like a few hours on a Saturday and Sunday, you are really pushing out that gambling. You don't have enough time now to watch sports. And your interest in watching sports and gambling is dwindling because that gambling addiction so often is about dealing with psychological struggles, and it is a way, albeit an unhealthy way, to cope with different kinds of emotional issues, psychological issues, etc., etc. Well, what you're doing now is you're finding alternative, healthier ways of dealing with life, ways that make you feel fulfilled, even if it's something that you don't love doing, like cleaning out the basement and reorganizing your home. You love the result, okay? And that's what's keeping you going. And that's making you feel better and better about yourself. And what can be really powerful is if the gambling addiction is distracting you and helping you cope with some kind of issue or negative life circumstances that you have going on. And that becomes the goal, right? That now I'm going to fix this and address this issue and do my research, do my homework, make a plan to fix this thing that I'm relying on gambling to help me kind of forget about and not deal with. Well, that's super, super powerful. But it doesn't have to be a one-to-one kind of correlation. It doesn't have to be that. It can just be a goal or something that you're going to feel good about accomplishing. Okay? As I said before, another way of referring to this is the leverage technique because you're getting more and more leverage over your gambling. The leverage that you're getting is increased self-confidence, this sense of feeling productive and like you're taking control of your life, and feeling like there is not as much of a place for gambling in your life anymore. It takes time, but the wonderful thing about this strategy is as soon as you start doing it, you've already shifted from this degree of productivity to this degree of productivity. You're already starting to make progress in your life in spite of still having your struggles with compulsive gambling. This is Dr. Fields. I hope you found this video helpful. I'll have more videos about how to deal with compulsive gambling. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me or put them in the comments section below. Have a great week, everyone.